We begin tonight with the News 4 Jax investigation. A Jacksonville business caught on camera dumping sewage illegally.
This afternoon, the health department sent us the official reprimand. This letter of warning against the company involved, Floaters Portable Sanitation. Floaters tells News 4 Jax it's all a misunderstanding. Well, News 4 Jax investigator Lindsay Gardner is part of our investigative team that has been working this story for 2 months. Tonight, she follows possible money owed to the city.
Lindsay, this investigation began after News 4 Jax took the Duval County Health Department's evidence obtained from a whistleblower, and the whistleblower brought this evidence straight to the local station.
Yes, they did, Tom, and the Department of Health is confirming to us that they began their formal investigation only after we then brought them these photos of what looked to be illegal dumping there. Now, we do want to note that we have agreed to keep our source of this story confidential until this investigation is complete. Picture after picture after picture, all obtained by News 4 Jax, show a violation. Several workers with Floaters Portable Sanitation offloading sewage from their trucks and porta potties through a hose into this dump station they weren't permitted to use on this downtown Jacksonville property. Our source even followed one of the company's trucks through downtown Jacksonville to the lot in question off Adams Street in Talleyrand.
Just stop.
You can see another truck then parked with porta potties labeled with the Floaters Company logo in tow. It's the same spot our source's hidden cameras captured Floaters employees taking steps to offload the septic holding tank waste down that drain more than a dozen other times. The hidden camera timestamps show different trucks arriving on 7 different days over 2 weeks in July and August, some even coming before dawn. What made you all bring the evidence to News 4 Jax to get something done?
The evidence was brought to News 4 Jax because something needed to be done about it. It needed to stop, and they need to pay the piper.
We've agreed to protect our source's identity until the investigation is completed. He's concerned about being sued by Floaters for blowing the whistle. We can't tell you he works in a similar industry. Is this an issue of competing business, or is this an issue of public health?
A little bit of both.
We took this evidence straight to the Duval County Department of Health. News 4 Jax investigator Vic Michelucci pressed the department's director Scott Turner for answers. Turner tells us they began investigating this as a formal complaint after we provided these pictures.
Was what they were doing illegal?
It's not permitted. It hasn't been deemed illegal, but it is not permitted through what we permit them to do.
Isn't it against the statutes, though?
They are required to dump at a approved facility. So that facility was not approved for them for dumping.
So technically it was illegal?
Technically.
Here's why. The health department confirms the privately owned lot in question has a permit for personal RVs to dump their waste. That's during special events like Georgia, Florida, or Florida Country Superfest, and only for waste generated on that property. It is not permitted to ever allow outside commercial waste from a commercial company like Floaters, period. And it's also not permitted for dumping any waste outside of a special event, which there were no events at the time these photos were taken. What's more, we've learned Floaters is captured dumping into an RV septic line that we found out flows directly into one of JEA's sewer lines. Access to that line means missed money for the city of Jacksonville. JEA charges a fee to their commercial companies to discharge into their sewer lines, and they say there are no records granting Floaters direct access to their sewer lines at all.
Was there ever a danger to the environment from this?
That dump station is connected directly to JEA sewer, so there was not a direct impact to the environment.
Mm-hmm. But they were using JEA's sewage system without paying for it.
I do not believe they were paying for that sewer treatment, no.
So they were able to dump there for free?
They were dumping there at no cost.
Which would save their company a lot of overhead.
Correct.
The official letter of warning notifies Floaters, quote, "This letter of warning is being placed on your file, and this violation may be cited in any future complaint." The company was found to have violated a Florida statute with, quote, illegal dumping of septic holding tank wastewater into a temporary RV park dump station. Legally, Floaters Portable Sanitation has 21 days to appeal this written reprimand.
We have been reaching out to Floaters Portable Sanitation for their side of the story for 2 months now, and today we got a statement. Floaters says there was a misunderstanding between the health department and the person who owns the Talleyrand property where that dump site is. And they say the problem has been resolved.
Lindsay, do you know whether JEA might try to recover any money for these unpaid fees for accessing the sewer lines?
I asked JEA that exact same question, Tom, and they told me if they are able to prove that any illegal activity happened, then they would consider taking some steps to recoup that money.
Well, Lindsay, this is such a small snippet of time that we're talking about, that the cameras caught this activity. Is there any way of knowing, do we know that whether this may have been going on for some time?
We don't actually, Mary, know exactly how long this may or may not have been going on. When I spoke with Floaters today, their representative told me the misunderstanding stretched all the way back to 2013. We should also note that waste haulers like Floaters don't have to discharge their waste at JEA. They can use another private facility. Floaters says that's the system that they are using, although they are now considering adding a drain to their business property as well. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story for you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A News 4 Jax investigation is now getting the attention of JEA. This comes after our investigative team broke the story about a Jacksonville business found to be illegally dumping sewage.
That company, Floaters Portable Sanitation, maintains this is all a misunderstanding. But the Duval County Health Department issued Floaters a letter of warning after receiving photographic evidence of the dumping from the local station.
Now, News 4 Jax investigator Lindsay Gardner is joining us with new information. Lindsay, what exactly does JEA say it's looking into?
Well, JEA tells me they are, quote, doing their due diligence here in light of the health department investigation into Floaters. So at issue here is a money trail. Was Floaters using JEA's sewer lines and dumping without a permit to avoid paying required fees? Tonight, I've obtained some of the records JEA is reviewing.
You're looking at the photographic evidence News 4 Jax obtained from a whistleblower and took straight to the Duval County Health Department, starting this investigation. A bombardment of photos showing workers with Floaters Portable Sanitation offloading sewage and septic tank wastewater down a drain meant only for RV waste, happening downtown near Talleyrand. Timestamps show Floaters employees using several different trucks to offload the waste more than a dozen times over 2 weeks in July and August. The problem, the dump station they're putting that waste down through a hose is only permitted for private RVs to use, and only during special events like Georgia, Florida, or Florida Country Superfest. The health department says it was never constructed to allow commercial companies like Floaters to dump commercial waste. And when we interviewed Scott Turner, the director of the Duval County Health Department, about Floaters and these photos, he says the company was, quote, forthcoming.
Because this is a first offense, they were going to receive a letter of warning, and that will serve as notification to that company of what is right and what is not right.
The trail continues. You see these sewer lines Floaters is seen accessing connect to JEA sewer lines. JEA charges a fee to dump waste into their sewer system. JEA tells News 4 Jax it has no records providing access to Floaters, which could mean missed money and unpaid fees. Tonight, we know JEA is looking into that issue, telling us, quote, we are continuing our due diligence in light of DOH's investigation to understand the location and quantity of waste Floaters has been discharging at A1. News 4 Jax has obtained some of the records JEA has now accessed through our own source. This manifest from A1 Waste Management shows Floaters discharged waste at Floaters' approved facility 4 times in June. In July, only 3 times total. But by August, when News 4 Jax started asking questions, the company recorded dumping there 20 times. Those discharges begin on August 12th, 2 days after we alerted the health department and began our investigation. And sources tell us for September, workers with floaters have been there 38 different times to dump waste. We have called floaters for comment on these records, but so far, they have not returned our call.
We have agreed to keep our sources for this story confidential until this investigation is completed. Floaters is still able to appeal this letter of warning.
Lindsay, this is very complex, obviously. Do you know if there were 3 or 4 dumps in June? Was Floaters allowed to go somewhere else than the rest of the time?
We asked the health department that same question when we began this investigation back in August. And when we spoke to them then, they told us Floaters is only permitted to dump at A1 Waste Management, which is the company in the story we were talking about. I called today to further verify that, and I have still not received a clear answer from the health department. Now, when I spoke to Floaters on Friday, a representative told me this was all a misunderstanding that stretched all the way back to 2013. So right now, we don't know how many years or months this all could have been going on and how much money and unpaid fees JEA could be looking into tonight.
So you'll be still following this for a while.
Absolutely, days to come.
Lindsay, thank you.